Hey guys, it's Reagan. So for today's video, I wanted to do something a little bit more sentimental. I wanted to do a more serious video today because I wanted to talk to you guys about why I wanted to be a nurse and why I wanted to go to nursing school. So when I was a senior in high school, I had to get up in the middle of the night to go to the emergency room because I was feeling the worst pain I had ever felt in my life, and I legitimately thought that I was going to die. So at the ER visit, we realized that I had a kidney stone, and so we spent the next few weeks doing tests, taking scans and all of that to figure out how bad the kidney stone was and making sure that it didn't cause some kind of infection. A few weeks later, I ended up back in the ER because of my kidney stone pain, and I was admitted to the hospital so that I could have the kidney stone removed. I don't really remember much about my hospital stay. Like, I don't remember what floor I was on or anything like that, but I remember my nurse, and that is a key point to this beginning of this story. I remember my nurse walking in and introducing herself. She did amazing patient teaching. She taught me about my IV. She showed me my call light. She made sure that I knew if I needed anything to call her and let her know, even if I just needed to get up and go to the bathroom. I remember being in that hospital bed and looking over at my mom and saying, maybe I should be a nurse. And my mom looking back at me and saying, maybe you should. And that was that. I didn't think anything of that until further on down the line. So fast forward a little bit until I got into college. I started working for somebody as a personal assistant, and this woman had some health problems, so she had oxygen. She stayed at home most of the time, so I got to help her with medical equipment, medications. I was mostly in charge of taking care of her kids, making sure they got where they needed to be, but it was just all around an interesting job. And sometimes I would even just sit there and talk with her because she needed somebody to talk to. And that was super duper important to me, which I didn't even realize at that time, but it gave me some experience on empathy and compassion that I never even knew I had or needed. While I was working for this lady, I moved in with someone, with a roommate, and I was just about to move in with them when some things started happening around me, and I didn't really know what to do about it. The first thing was my brother started dating this girl who is now his wife. And this girl he was dating just so happened to be a nurse here in my town at the burn unit. And I just remember hearing her say that for the first time and telling me that that was her job. And me thinking, with no conception about what nursing was like, what ICU nursing was like, I just remember her telling me that and me thinking, wow, I am not smart enough to do that job. Like, I'm not smart enough, and I would never be smart enough to do that. And at that time, there was this weird feeling as if God just kind of like popped me on the back of my head. You know, like in the movies when somebody says something stupid and the person next to them just like pops them on the back of the head? That was basically what God was doing with me, because he was slowly putting things into place and slowly putting puzzle pieces together that I had no clue what was going on. So I also didn't know that this girl who my brother was dating would someday become his wife and would also someday become a role model and an inspiration for me. So a few weeks later, I was at my birthday dinner, and my cousin announces that she is applying to nursing school, that she wants to go to nursing school. Her mom also decided to go to nursing school as well and had already been accepted into the program, which I didn't know about until that time. And again, I remember thinking like, wow, I am not smart enough for this, but I did start making connections about like, why is this happening all at once? Like, you know, I didn't know what I was doing with my life. I was studying psychology in college and I didn't know what I wanted to do with that. I didn't want to be in school forever just so I could have a job. I was so depressed and lonely. I felt like I had no purpose. And there were actually times where, and he will like back me up on this, there were times where I would text Daniel, who was away at school, and I'd be like, I have no idea what I'm doing with my life. So if we're financially stable, are you okay with me just like being a stay-at-home wife and then like stay-at-home mom? Because I don't know, maybe that's my calling, is just to be a mom, and that's it. And he told me, you know what, if we're financially stable, I don't really care what you do. So I had settled for that, and I had settled for being stay-at-home mom and wife, and I was content. Or so I seemed, because I wasn't actually content. I didn't really know what was going on. But like I said, God was slowly putting these things into place. So fast forward a couple weeks, and I was at work for this lady, and her son really needed to get out of the house. So I decided to take her son to the movie. I offered to take him to a movie. And so, you know, she said okay, and so I loaded him up in the car and we headed to the movie theater. When we got to the movie theater, we actually saw one of his classmates who was there with his grandma. And so, you know, we sat together, we got to talking and stuff like that. And after the movie, the boys wanted to play in the arcade. So we gave them some change, they went to go play in the arcade, and I got to talking with his grandmother. And the grandmother asks me, so, what are you doing? Are you in school? And I said, yes, actually I'm studying psychology. And she gave me this very strange look. And she said, so what do you want to do with that? And I said, I honestly have no idea. I didn't even think that I would get through the full program. You know, I figured maybe I'd change my major, but I don't really know. I don't really know what I want to do yet. And she said, well, that's interesting, because when I went to college, I studied psychology for a few years, and then I decided to switch to nursing. And there was that smack again that God was like, listen to me, pay attention. How do you not see these signs that I'm putting in front of you everywhere you go? She told me that she started nursing school, and you know, of course, like things were a lot different back then when she was in school. But she told me that she appreciated the years that she studied psychology, even though she didn't even finish in that degree. She appreciated those years because she was able to apply what she learned about how the brain works and why people do what they do into her nursing profession. And honestly, my mind was blown. And in that moment, she probably thought that I was insane. I just kind of stood there and just like looked at her. And I said, well, you know, that's crazy that you say that, because recently all these things have been happening and I feel like I'm not where I'm supposed to be in life, and I'm being led into nursing. And she said, well, then what are you doing here? Go for it. And we continued to talk for a little bit, but those words that she said to me spoke to me. I mean, I've kept them with me 2 years, 3 years later. And I feel the exact same way. Now that I'm in school, I'm able to apply what I learned beforehand and use it in my future career, which isn't here yet, but my future career. So I thought about it, and I prayed about it, and I thought about it some more. And I felt like I needed to talk to my parents and at least share with them I don't think that I'm in the right place. Not physically, but just in life, in my stage of life. But to be honest, I was scared. I was scared to talk to my parents, and not because of fear of rejection. But I was scared to look at my parents and say, I know that you have paid for 2 years of my college, but guess what? I'm changing my major and I'm starting completely over. So now I'm gonna go back for prereqs, go to nursing school, and then someday get my bachelor's. Yay, more money. And I also didn't know if my parents would be willing to pay for more schooling because it wasn't the original plan that we made. So I was scared that they would be upset with me for wasting their time and wasting their money. And I was so scared that they would say, well, if you want to do that, you're gonna have to support yourself through it. So I didn't text my parents and I didn't tell them these things for a few weeks. And then school started, that semester started, and I was like, oh my gosh, I've waited so long, I've waited too long. And now, what am I gonna do? Because I feel bad about telling my parents, but I also don't want to waste their money for a whole other semester. So I sucked it up and I texted my mom. And we had this long conversation, and I don't really remember everything that we talked about, to be honest. Like, I don't remember all of our conversation because, like I said, this was like 2 years ago and we were texting. And so I don't really remember. But I remember my mom saying something along the lines of, well, it took you long enough. She and my dad had known that I wasn't in the right place. But the last thing a parent wants to do is shove their child in another direction. And they felt as though, with God's guidance, I would end up where I was supposed to be. And they were right. My parents were so understanding and so accepting, and they even did so much research, and we met up for lunch and talked about it all, and it was like overwhelming, all of the stuff that I knew that I would have to do just to apply to school. And I think that it had settled in my mind that logically, if that wasn't what I was meant to do, then I would apply and not get accepted, and that would be the end of that. So when I submitted my application and got an email a few weeks later saying that I had been approved for an interview, I almost wet my pants. So then I went in for the interview. I had a great interview, and then as I was walking out, I could just feel, you know, like when you feel like you're about to cry, I just feel the tears welling up, and I got in my car and I had a literal mental breakdown, like hyperventilation, tears, couldn't even see straight. And then I hear this on my window, and I look over, and it's a nursing student with her badge, and she's standing there and she's like, are you okay? And I'm like, how do I explain to you that I just had a really good interview yet I'm losing my mind? And so I just told her, yes, I'm okay, like no worries, thank you for your concern. And then a few weeks later, I was at a sorority event, and I got an email saying that I had been accepted into the program. And again, the first thing that I thought to do was call my boyfriend and tell him that I got accepted. And he didn't answer his phone, number one, so, you know, just a little bit bitter about that. But after he didn't answer, I called my parents, and I think that they could hear in my voice, because, you know, like that about to cry voice that you're like, Mom. But it wasn't in a bad way. It wasn't like a bad thing. And I said, you know, my mom was like, hello? And I said, Mom. And she was like, yes. Like happy, like excited, like she knew I was about to tell her good news. And when I told her that I got accepted, literally, like, I think, you know, she was at home in the living room with my dad, and they were on the phone jumping up and down, and I was on my phone jumping up and down, and it was insanity. And here I am now, 2 years later. Everything worked out with my prerequisites. Everything worked out with my application. Like, you know, my schedule was all messed up because I had started a semester, but I didn't know that a lot of the classes that I had taken were prerequisites, and I was able to make up the prerequisites that I lacked in one summer and one semester. So I was able to arrange things around, and there were little tiny issues along the way, and I kept feeling discouraged and kept feeling like that wasn't what I was supposed to do, but every one of those little things worked out. My application worked out. My interview worked out. And there have been many a time in school that I have thought, you know what, that's it, I'm dropping out, I'm done. But everything has worked out. I have put my faith in God wholly, and I can honestly say that that is the only reason. Wow. Okay. I can honestly say that my faith in God and His system, not mine, not my plan, but His plan and His timing is the only reason why I am where I am today, It's the only reason I'm wearing these scrubs. It's the only reason why I get to wear this stethoscope around my neck and call myself a nursing student. And in just a few months, when I graduate, I'll be able to call myself a nurse. And to be honest, like I said, my story isn't some grand, I didn't have some sickness that I fought and battled, and my nurse was such an inspiration to me during my hard time. I mean, some people have some amazing stories, and mine is relatively simple. I wasn't on the right path, and I got directed onto the right one. And I hope that that's what you take from this video today. Out of every single thing I've said, whether you're planning on going into nursing school or not, I hope that that's the one thing that you've taken away from this video. We have a plan, and things don't always go according to plan, ever, pretty much, in my experience. But if you stay faithful, and if you put your trust in something higher than yourself, things will work out in the end. Everything will work out in the end. If you are watching this and you're in nursing school or you're a nurse, please leave a comment down below about why you wanted to be a nurse or why you wanted to apply for nursing school. I'll be reading all the comments. If you guys ever want to talk about anything or have questions about anything, you can DM me on Instagram. I'll put my handle right here if you would like to talk to me. My inbox is always open, I guess I could say. So let me know if there's anything that you guys ever need. If you liked this video or like videos like this, please give this video a thumbs up because it helps me know what kind of videos to make for you guys. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel so that you guys can stay up to date on videos, both nursing and non-nursing related. And I will see you guys next time.